Up here tonight, and I hope that you will hear him prayerfully. All right?
Amen. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's going to be interesting. I rewrote all this last night, and so it's going to be a little interesting. But I wanted to speak to you tonight about stewardship and spiritual disciplines. I've been going through this book again. I'm supposed to be leading Austin, Ariel, Angel, and my wife through this book, and schedules and things have gotten in the way, so we haven't made much progress. But hopefully we can get that, straightened out so we can kind of move forward. So I'll just share with you the spiritual disciplines they have listed in this book. Is Bible intake, prayer, worship, evangelism, serving, stewardship, fasting, silence, and solitude, journaling, and learning. And so those are all the ones that are listed, and maybe I'll go through all those at some point if they let me come back up here and speak again. But the road to maturity for a Christian passes through the spiritual disciplines. 1 Timothy 4 verse 7 says, "But have nothing to do with worldly fables, fit only for old women. On the other hand, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness." And so, godliness or Christ-likeness, that is the end goal. That's what we should be striving for when we're trying to practice all these disciplines. And I get asked from time to time by most people that knew me when I was, much larger. They asked me, like, "Hey, how'd you do it? How'd you lose all that weight? What's your secret?" And the truth is, there is no big secret. It comes down to a very simple math problem, which is calories in versus calories out. If you burn more calories than you consume, you will lose weight. But you have to do it consistently, and that's where discipline comes in. You have to discipline yourself to get in the gym on a regular basis. You have to discipline yourself to watch what you eat and, eat clean and make sure those two are synced together so that you can accomplish whatever fitness goals you might have. Sounds weird saying this, but as former Alabama coach Nick Saban would say, it takes what it takes. It's not hard. It just requires discipline and consistency. So the discipline I'll be talking about tonight is stewardship for the purpose of godliness. Godliness is the end result, like I said, and practicing good stewardship is one of the things that will help you get there. So to understand stewardship, you need to understand that nothing in this world belongs to you. Everything that has been created or will be created that is man-made, they first had to use a natural resource that God had already provided here. If you look at nature, how things operate, nothing lives for itself. Rivers don't drink their own water, trees don't eat their own fruit, and the sun doesn't shine for itself. Everything lives with a purpose, and that purpose is not itself, it's other things, providing for other things. And so this life, that we're not put here to live this life for ourselves. We have been put here by God to do a specific purpose that He has for us to fulfill. So that brings us to the first part of stewardship, which is time. Genesis 1 verse 1 states, "In the beginning." So that's it. That's when God set time in motion. God created time. He exists outside of it. God has no past. He has no future. He just is. And we can't really comprehend that because we're just humans. But He is just an eternal being. And He is not bound by time. He is just eternal. Psalm 90 verse 2 says, "Before the mountains were born, or you gave birth to the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God." And God, in His sovereignty, has put each of us here with a purpose to fulfill. And so, in light of that, we should use our time wisely, because time is not, it's not a bag of ice that's in the freezer that you take out, use a little bit, and put it back for later. It's like sands in an hourglass, and whatever time we have left is slipping away. And so in light of that, we need to make sure we use our time wisely. If you look at James chapter 4, verse 14, we see that it says that we are like a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. So we must use our time wisely, because it is the preparation for eternity. We prepare for eternity in time, like the small rudder on a ship gives direction to the big ocean liner. So is our time here on earth is going to decide how it's going to affect how we spend eternity. So the first thing you need to do, if you haven't already done so, is to make sure you get right with God. Make sure your salvation is rock solid. Make sure you know that you know. Even if you've already come up here and said the sinner's prayer and gotten baptized, if you are not sure, you need to get that done today. If you read Proverbs chapter 27, verse 1, it says, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what it will bring." And so, don't think just because maybe you're young that you have time to get right with God down the road, because you have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. If I bring a 70-year-old man up here and I bring a 17-year-old up here and I say which one needs to worry about getting saved first, you'd probably say the 70-year-old man, because you say, well, he doesn't have a whole lot of time left. You need to get that taken care of. But if I told you that the 17-year-old wasn't going to live to see his 18th birthday and the 70-year-old was going to live to see 100, in all actuality, the 70-year-old is younger than the 17-year-old. And so you never know how much time you have. And so get that taken care of today if you are not sure. And the second is to use your time to serve God. That's one of the best things you can do with your time, is serving the Lord, whether it's through the church or whatever He might have you do. That's the best way, really, I think, to spend your time. The new class that we've started, the CIA, which stands for Christians in Action, we meet for our Sunday school class at 5:30 on Sunday night. And you ask, well, why you do that? Well, because during the Sunday school hour, most of us are busy serving in other areas in the church. So it's hard to get us all together in that early morning hour for us to spend some time in Bible study. And so we decided, you know what, we have time at night. Let's just get together at 5:30 and have our Bible studies then. And if you ask me, that's a pretty good use of our time. Sometimes you got to be creative to find the time, but we all know at the end of the day, you find time for the things you want to find time for. If it's important to you, you will find the time for it. Amen. And so, if you make wise choices with the time that has been given to you, then you would be able to pray the prayer that Jesus prayed at the end of his life in John chapter 17, verse 4, where it says, "I glorified you on earth, having accomplished the work which you have given me to do." And that is what we should all be striving for, is accomplishing the work God has given us to do here on earth. And now we come to the money part of it. And this is the one where people roll their eyes and they get mad and they say, "That's why I don't go down to that church, but every time I do, they want to talk about money." Well, you know what? That's true. But every time you go to Walmart, every time you go to Amazon.com, they want to talk about your money too. So it's just the way it is. This building didn't just drop out of the sky. It took money to build. We have all the same utilities that you have at your house. Those bills have to be paid. And so money just makes things happen, help things get done, such as not only the church service itself, but also the outreach and reaching other peoples for Christ. All of that requires money, and being a good steward important because we spend the majority of our days working to earn money. If you think about it, most of your days on this earth are going to be spent trying to earn money. And in a way, money kind of represents us. It reveals what we spend it on, reveals what we value. If you value football, you might have a cable guy come to your house and install a cable box so that you can make sure you can watch all your teams play every weekend. If you value your spouse, hopefully you do, you might spend money to take her out on dates, out on the town. You might spend stuff, or spend money on stuff to purchase what she wants and things like that. If you value your lawn, if you value your lawn, you're going to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you're going to spend money on a lawnmower, or you're going to find somebody to mow your lawn for you because you want your nice green lawn. And there's nothing wrong with valuing any of those things. Those are all perfectly fine things to value, but you need to ask yourself, how much do I value God? Because He's the only reason that you can earn this money that you earn, because He gives you the ability to do so. Leviticus chapter 27, verse 30 says, "Thus all the tithe of the land, of the seed of the land, or of the fruit of the tree is the Lord's, it is holy to the Lord." So the tithe is 10% of your income. That belongs to the Lord. And if you don't give 10% of your income to the Lord, I will just tell you that you are stealing from Him.
Right.
In Matthew chapter 22, verse 21, and also in Mark chapter 12, verse 17, we see where Jesus says, "Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and render unto God the things that are God's." That means Jesus wants you to pay not only your tithe, but also your taxes. So keep that in mind whenever tax season rolls around again. You're supposed to be paying your taxes. But the tithe is 10%, and then the offering is whatever you give above that. That's your offering. That's just more. It's just both the tithe and the offering really are ways to praise and worship the Lord and thank Him for allowing you to earn the money that you've earned and provide you with all the things that you have. And so you got your tithe, your 10%, and then your offering is anything above that that you might want to feel led to give. I'm not a rich man. I don't know if you can know that or not. There are certain things that I want that I can't afford. If you see my truck, you'll notice there's quite a bit of dings and dents in it. And I would like to get those fixed, but I just don't have the money. And at the end of the day, my truck gets me from point A to point B, and that's all I need. That's enough for me. And so as long as it does that, I'm good. I'm not going to worry about how pretty my truck is as long as it does what I need it to do. And so, I'm not a rich man, but me and my wife, Ariana, we know that if we are good stewards with our money, we will always have enough. And we live in a world that is constantly trying to sell us things. I'm old enough to remember when streaming services first came out. The whole idea of the streaming service was you can watch your movie or TV show. You can do that, and you don't have to wait through the commercials. You don't have to deal with commercials. And now all the streaming services have commercials just as long as regular television. And so it's just all about ads and money, and it's constantly trying to sell you more and more things. And our biggest enemy in proper stewardship of our money is more. One of the greatest lies Satan ever told was, "I'll be satisfied if I just have a little more."
Amen.
You will find out quickly that you are constantly chasing something that's just a little faster than you are. Trying to get you're not selfish, you just want a little more. And you're constantly chasing that, and you're gonna end up in a bad place. So, stewardship, proper stewardship of your time, of your money, it's not gonna lead you to great riches. I don't think, most of us anyways. But it will lead to godliness, and in the end, that should be our goal, is to become more Christ-like, to be more godly. And so now I'm going to give you my tithing story. You probably heard it before. I gave it a couple years ago, but it's about me and the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And it's the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. It's not Reese's Pieces. Those aren't the same. Those are M&M's. It's about the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And when I was little, I was actually cleaning out the den. One of the few times that I did do what my parents asked me to do, I cleaned out the den. And I was going through the couch, or not the recliner, going through cleaning all that out. And I found a dollar bill. And when you're a kid, if you find any amount of money, it could be pennies. I mean, that's a big deal. But when you find a whole dollar bill, that's like winning the lottery. And I knew that dollar bill probably belonged to my dad because he's the one that sat in that chair. Mom never sat in the den with us. She sat in her living room watching her shows, and the den was where all the sports and stuff was watched, all the exciting stuff was watched. And so I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I found this dollar in this cup. I think it belongs to you. He said, yeah, it probably does, but you can have it as long as you put your tithe in the church offering plate Sunday. And I said, well, what's that? He said, well, what's 10% of a dollar? I said, well, I don't know. What is it? He said, 10 cents. And so I gave him my dollar bill, and he gave me some change so that I would have a dime to put in the offering plate. And I had done the math in my head, and I knew for a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, I needed about $1. And if I take my dollar and I give 10 cents, I don't have $1. And so I can't get it. But I went ahead and I did what I knew I had to do, and I put my 10 cents in the offering plate. And it's, you know, as you are when you're a kid, time goes by, you kind of forget about it. Until that next weekend, I guess it was, we went over to my grandmother and my dad's house for the weekend. Sometimes when we were younger, we would go over to their house on the weekends and just spend the night, you know, on Friday night or whatever. And Friday nights was their shopping night, which means we went to Walmart with them. And the way shopping went with my grandparents was Tyler got to go with D-Dad, and they got to go look at the hunting stuff and the guns, because they used to have guns in Walmart. I don't know if they do anymore. But all the guns and ammo, all that, they got to go look at all the fun stuff, and then I had to go with grandmother to do the actual shopping. And that wasn't a big deal. I love my grandmother. It wasn't that big of a deal. The only problem was that Tyler is not there. And if you don't know me, or if you do know me when I was little, you will know that Tyler is how I talked to people when I was little. If somebody walked up to me, they would say, hey, what's your name? I'd say, my name's Aaron. Or Tyler would say, his name's Aaron. They would say, well, how old are you, Aaron? Tyler would say, well, he's 5. Well, what school do you go to? And Tyler would tell them. And so that's how I talked to people, but I knew being with my grandmother, I didn't have Tyler there. She was going to introduce me to 5 or 6 people in that Walmart and make me talk to them, and then she's going to pull out her wallet, show all the pictures of her grandkids, all 4 of her grandkids she was so proud of. And so we did that. We went shopping. We got done getting over to the register. I look over to the checkout. Past the checkout line, I see Tyler and D-Dad sitting over there. And then I look over and I see the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And it's not the regular one. It's, back then they called it the king size. I think now they call it shareables, which is just a polite way for saying it's for the fat kids. And so I see the king size Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And I look down at the price and I see that it is on sale for 75 cents and I have 90 in my pocket. And so I got my Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but I believe because I was faithful with that 10 cents that seems so insignificant now, because I was faithful for that, God made sure not only did I get my Reese's, but that I got the fat boy portion of it. And so that kind of struck me when I was little, and since then I've always just felt that tithing is important. And if you're not tithing, I would ask you to do so, because you will be amazed at what God will do in your life if you're faithful to Him, not only with your money, but your time and everything. And so that's all I got. So thank you.